Hi everyone, this is Melissa with Sew Study, and today we're going to focus on another quilt design that can be used to finish your log cabin quilts. This design is called Block 4C, and the layout was created by Donna McCauley when she was doing her Essence of Tradition quilt. So for this block, she used just one template to do the entire design, and it was from our London collection of templates. It was one of the flying bell curve templates. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the collection, the London collection altogether, and then we'll dive into the panel and quilting the panel. The London collection of templates by Leonie West was inspired by her trip to London. So being able to see the architecture, the history, and the sites, it really stirred the quilter in her to create some of the designs she saw into quilting templates. And in one part, she talks about how she walked through a passage in the Warwick Castle, and that led to the gateway design, which is a template design, which has 3 sizes of the same design all in one template. And I'll show that to you a little bit later. But I love how she talks about in one of her books, this is one of the books that is really meant to help you get the most out of your London collection templates or your whichever ones that you have. And this one is called the London Collection of Flying Bell Curve Triangles. So that is one of the collection of templates. And I really appreciated how she talks about in the very opening. She said, this book helps you get the most out of Westerly design templates. Once you master the movement of templates and your fabric, a whole world of quilting opens up for you to explore. Remember, we are playing with fabric and thread, and stitches can easily be removed. Once you start to quilt in your own voice, you will not turn back. And I just love that because I feel like it's easy to get excited about a template design. We see it and we're like, oh, I got to have that. And then we get it. And then we kind of lose our motivation to actually play with the templates and come up with designs because we need some inspiration. We need something to look at. And that's one of the reasons why I love these books that support our templates, because they give you quilting plans. They give you quilting ideas. These flying London bell curve triangles look really good with template. I have some hanging in the back right there. Those samples were done by Janet Collins, and I just love how the different designs and how you cut out the fabric can make a completely different look. So I really like to point out that we have these books available on our website. And if you have one of the collections of templates, but you haven't done a lot with them, maybe you need some inspiration, definitely check out the different books that we have. And then we also have this one, which has quilting plans in it as well. And it also supports the flying bell curve. So look at some of these designs that you can make with just 1 or 2 of the templates in the collection. It's really helpful to have these books, again, especially if you felt like, oh, I bought that template, but I haven't done anything with it. I need to get inspired. There's so many beautiful things that you can make with these templates. So I really encourage you to check out these books if you don't have them. Also, Janet Collins did a pattern using the flying bell curve and the flying tricorns and a couple other ones from the London collection. So her quilt is called Lattice, which we also have available for purchase. And it's just a beautiful way of doing flying squares, flying triangles. And I love how she put it together with the sashing to kind of give it that lattice look. So we have that available as well. Some of the templates that come in the collection, our first is going to be the London Flying Bell Curve Triangle. So this comes with 4 different sizes as well as the gateway. So I'll show you what the gateway looks like. So the gateway comes with 3 different sizes just in one template. So that's kind of nice and handy to have, and they're a little bit smaller. And then the actual size of the templates are a little bit bigger. Let's staple tape out of the way. But these are the different sizes of the templates in the flying bell curve triangle series. And I'm pointing those ones out because the one that we're going to be using on our practice panel today is the 5-inch flying bell curve template. And this one template is going to create the design that we're going to be doing. But there's a whole collection of this flying bell curve in different sizes. And that gives you some more options. So if you have a different block size, we're going to be focusing on a 6-inch block size. But if you have bigger than that, there's bigger templates. So that's kind of nice too. We also have the London collection, the flying triangle template. So they're shaped a little bit different. And I give you that flying triangle. Let's see if I can get them out of here without dropping them on the floor. Okay. So this is what one of them looks like. It's a flying triangle. And again, that also comes in the gateway designs. So you have 3 different designs in one template. And then let's see, what else do we have? There's the flying squares. These are really fun. I haven't used them yet, but hopefully, I was hoping to. So this is just a gateway template. So this is 3 different square designs in one template. And all of these templates we do give you, the books will talk about different ways to use the templates, how to lay them out, give you some inspirational ideas on doing designs for your quilts. And then the last one is called our Flying Tricorn set of templates. So let's see, they're just a little bit different, maybe a little bit different design, a little bit different shape. So they do come in different sizes again, but that's kind of the shape that you'll get. Let's see if I can show off the front of it again a little bit more. So that is the Flying Tricorn set of templates. And so, yeah, we have the Flying Tricorn, the Flying Squares, the Flying Bell Curve, which we're going to be focusing on today, and then again, the Flying Triangle template set. So a lot of different ways to come up with different designs. I think it's a great set of templates. It's one of those templates that you can buy and then just explore designs for years, I think, because there's so many different ways that you can use them. I'm going to show off a little bit of inspiration that we have on them just to get you guys excited, and then we'll dive into the panel. So Block 4C is not one that actually came in your subscription club box, but it is one that you can purchase off of our website. And it's a great design to, as talked about earlier, it's just using one template. And so that is one of the great things about this design. And what I really like to point out is because we want to get the most out of our templates, right? We spent this money, we bought this template. We don't want to just use it doing one design or one thing. We want to get the most out of it. And this is just one way that you can use your template. And I love it. And we're just using a portion of the template too. So we're going to be focusing on a panel that you can also purchase as well. This is what I'm going to call our fall inspired panel colors with the oranges and yellows and brown tones. It's really pretty. But it's going to mimic, again, 6-inch blocks. And the blocks, or the print, is like a log cabin print. And again, the idea is for you to test out these designs, get comfortable with the template, stitching them out before you actually put it on your quilted project. And the quilt panels, they're nice to have on hand because they're not just like a piece of fabric. So most of us have scrap fabric where we could just go and practice and lay these out. But the panels are printed with an actual block. So like this is a log cabin. So the panel has a log cabin design in the background. And that way you can actually see, what does this template design look like on a log cabin block. Obviously, it's just kind of simulating that, but then it's a little bit better than just pulling out a piece of fabric too, because you can kind of actually get an idea. Do I like how it goes over the seams of the block? Do I not? Do I want to switch it up? So that's a great thing about our panels. So for the Block 4C, we are going to be focusing on the Flying Bell Curve, and we're going to be using the 5-inch template. And we're actually going to take the middle out. They all have a center that come with them. Just pull off the little tape on the back. And this can be used to make a host of other designs as well. A lot of that is included in those books that I talked about earlier, but we're not going to even be using that. We're simply going to be using this part of the template only to make these designs. So I'll show you here what they look like. I can get that up close there. So that is the design. So we're going to use it to make this outside shape. Then we'll come back and echo to give it that little bit of a ribbon effect. And then we're going to use the same template to do the cross hatching in the middle and give it kind of a fun design. And then again, when it all comes together, you get these 4 designs. And as you keep building on it, it creates a really neat pattern Let's see if we show that in our, so there. You'll get the instructions. So if you do go to our website and you want to purchase this test panel, you'll also get these instructions that are basically a quilt pattern layout for you. So you have something to go by. But this is kind of the look that you end up getting when you start putting multiple ones of them together. And then again, that's what it would eventually look like on your log cabin quilt block. So let's get our panel out, get it prepped, and we'll get started. All right, so here is one of the test panels. And again, I have just my backing and my batting on there as well. And what we're gonna do is find the center and again, the four corners. So it's gonna be really important to know where the corners are at again, because we want to line those up so that each of those four corners line up together. So you really wanna know where the perimeter of your 6-inch block is at and the center of your 6-inch block, because we're gonna be using those as our guides. So I'm going to get out my crosshair and make some marks on my panel, and then we'll head over to the sewing machine. So I'm just using my Westerly Design 8-point crosshair square, and I'm just using the 6-inch etched line to just mark some lines on my panel, my test panel, so I've got a clear idea of where my corners are at and where my center is at. And then you can put a full line all the way through, or I'm just going to put a couple up here and a couple down here in each of those areas, just so I have some reference points when we are spinning the design around. So it's going to look a little bit like that. And then do the same thing over here. So I have my 6-inch etched line. Let's get with this stuff out of the way. Line it up on all sides. Make sure I'm happy with that. And just give myself a few lines there. And down here and up here. So that is what it's going to look like. Those are the reference points we want. We want the center of each one, and we want our corners on each of your 6-inch blocks. So if you're actually doing your log cabin quilt block, that's what you would want to find. And today as well, I noticed last time we had a comment about using the templates on an actual pieced block. So after I do the practice designs on the panel, I went ahead and pieced together a log cabin quilt block. And then we'll actually do the design on a physical pieced quilt block as well, so that you can see that not just on a flat piece of panel design, but actually see it on a quilted pieced block as well, because I think that is really important to see how the template moves, to see what the design looks like. So I'm going to show you that today as well. So we're going to head over to the sewing machine and get set up, and then we'll start working on this design. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this design. So the shape that we're going to be making, I'm skipping this up here. Here we go. So we're going to be coming around. So first thing we're going to do is create this outside shape. We're going to go around once, and then we're going to rotate the template, and we're going to come around again, and that's what's going to create this ribbon effect all the way around the outside right here. Then what we're going to do is come to the corner, and when we stop, we're going to start doing our cross hatching. So we're going to do one way first. So we're going to do all the arcs this way. Doing an arc, we're going to do all the arcs this way. Then when we get back and we get done, we're going to do all the arcs back this way. And the amazing thing about this design is that you don't have to break threads once. We do not break thread at all. So once we start, this is all a continuous design. So there is a little bit of backtracking that we're going to do. Hey, let me show you my practice panel. Let me find the nicest one I did here. Huh. Okay, so let's see. I think so. Yeah. So I will say it does take a little bit of practice. So don't give up. And that's why you need these panels are so great, these test panels, because I think this is my second one. So that means 8 different times I tried to do this design. And it took me about that long to finally master it and get it especially because you are rotating the template a little bit. And if you're like me with shapes and you rotate it and you're like, oh, where am I going? What am I doing? Which way now? But once you get the hang of it and you figure it out, it's great. And it's magical, the different designs that they can do. So we are going to, again, come and we're going to do this outside shape. Then we're going to use the template. We're going to stop in a corner and then use the template to do the ribbon effect. We're going to come around and do that. And then we're going to stop in the corner, and then that's where we're going to do our first crotch hatching. And again, we're just going to do the one side first, do all of those, and then we're going to flip it, and we're going to come back and do the other ones. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky because you are spinning the template. So the backtracking that you have to do is you have to kind of come up to here, spin the template, so then that way you can do this. You're going to backtrack, spin the template, so you can come back, and we're going to go back and forth. So that's definitely until you kind of get your brain wrapped around what you're doing to make that design. It can be a little bit tricky, but again, don't give up, just keep at it. And then once you get it, it's really fun and it's amazing the design that you can do. And again, it doesn't take that long to stitch it out. So that's what we're going to go ahead and practice. Let's get started. And I left my panel over on the other side of the room. Let me go get that real quick and I'll be right back. All right, so I would just pick whatever corner you want to start in. That's easiest for you. I think I'm going to start it this way and start in this corner maybe. No, I'm going to do how I started. I think I'm going to start in this corner. So you're first going to have the template. This is the shape. Let me pull it back. It kind of looks like this. So we're going to put it on our design this way. So we're going to use these little, where'd my stiletto go? These little etched lines at the very tip of this little triangle part here. There's one right in the center. We're going to use that one. And then we're going to use these etched lines on the edges of these to line up these corners. And then this middle one to line up our center. So once you get it lined up how you want it for the design to come out looking good, you want to keep that same, I don't know, theory or thought process that you were using. So if you have a little fudging that you have to do based on your block, maybe it's not perfectly square, or you're trying to get the lines all lined up and everything. So whatever you decide is your center, keep that as your center through the whole design, because that's what's going to make the design come out and look really good at the end. So I have, looks like the second one, I have it right on the crosshair there on my center. And then I'm following that little etched line that I put there all the way out. I don't know what that's doing there. Let's move that out of the way. And then again, I have my line there and my line there. I've lined that up. And then I have it lined up right here. So our first stitching we're going to do is we're going to start up in this corner. We're going to come down, go all the way around and stop. And then keep our needle down, and we're going to rotate the template to do the other side of the triangle. And that's going to give us our first outside two shapes of the triangle. So I have got my template lined up how I want it. Just do a little bit of a back stitch there so it keeps it nice and tight. Okay, so we're just going to follow it around. This template is interesting because it's a little bit bigger than, let's say, the template that we were using on the last panel, which was the Spinifex template. It's nice in that there's more of it to hold on to, but it can be a little bit challenging sometimes too because it's a little bit bigger. So I think once you find you get comfortable using it, at first it may seem a little bit awkward, but I noticed like after I did, 8 of them or whatever, it was fine. So we're just going to keep coming over here. And you can rotate your fabric and template around, like again, if there's an angle that's better for you to work in. So I'm going to keep my needle down. I'm going to rotate this so I'm coming back towards myself. I think that's a little bit easier. And again, if I feel like when I moved it, I got it offline, just make sure everything is back where you want it. And then we're just going to keep going back. And if you need to reposition your hands, just stop and do that. I'm really bad about repositioning my hands and not stopping first. And then that's where you can kind of mess up your design because you're moving your hands and then you inevitably bump the template or something. So we're going to come all the way back to the corner. So that's going to give us our first shape there. Then we're going to rotate the template like this. So we want this now triangle in this corner. And we're going to be using, oops, sorry, I bumped the camera. Hopefully you guys like this view better. I was trying to give you a different like bird's eye view, but it's right over my shoulder. So I apologize if I bump it. I'm not quite used to it yet. So we're going to be using our spacing gauge a lot. So we're going to want to get out our spacing gauge. And what we're going to do is use those same etched lines to line up. And then when we're coming back over to here, we want to make sure we're 1/4 inch off of this little corner here because we want our needle to land right on that corner again. So let's see, maybe I can, yeah. So I want to be 1/4 inch off of that corner right there because that's where I want my needle to be so that I have a nice perfect stitch right there before I go and pack up. So I like to measure that right there. We're going to make sure that's right at 1/4 inch and adjust it a little bit if it needs to be. And then obviously adjust, making sure you're back in the center. I feel like I'm a little bit off. But again, we get to practice this 4 times. So if I am off and I don't quite like it, I get to do it again and keep kind of perfecting my skill at it. So let's see. So I'm going to come down back over here. I'm going to get rid of that thread there that's hanging out too. It's kind of bothering me. Just following the template, guiding it around. Couple stitches in the top, and again I'm going to stop with my needle down, turn it just so that I have a better it's more comfortable in using the template with a fabric. I guess that's what it is. It's just moving it towards more comfortable. And we're going to come all the way down here. Hopefully hit that corner. And then again, I'm going to rotate it one more time and we're going to come back to this corner, but I'm going to cut that little thread because it is bothering me. Sorry, and I bumped the camera again. Let's get you out of there. This is just a practice panel, so I'm not real worried about doing my threads. Okay, so we want to make sure, again, we're 1/4 inch now off of this right here. So I want my needle to end right there. I think that looks good. Let's just try that. And we're going to go ahead and do the best of our design here. Okay, so hopefully we landed right back in that corner again. So this is what the design is going to look like. We've got now our 2 outside shapes there. Next, we're going to be making the ribbon effect. So we're going to try to come back. We're going to rotate it and we're going to be making that ribbon effect. So the easiest way that I decided I could do it without getting confused is if you see the top of the triangle, it was down here. So to make the ribbon effect is going to be opposite of the one that you're doing. So if I line that up, you can see how the template is going to come, my stitching is going to come back and over like that. So I'm going to, again, line up down here and make sure I'm about 1/4 inch away. And make sure I'm touching my ruler foot up there. 1/4 inch down here. And then I'm just going to follow that in the template, and it's gonna give me that little ribbon effect on the outside. And we're just gonna keep going around. Again, we're not breaking any thread. We're just stopping with our needle down. There. And let's see. I think I ended up turning it this way this time. So we're going to turn it like this. Boy, it is really stormy outside here. So now again, the last one I did, I had the triangle up here. I'm going to flip it so that the triangle now is down here. And that's going to give me the ribbon effect again. And let's get, I think I need to lower my foot a little bit down, like right at the edge of my template. So I'm gonna make sure I'm about a 1/4 inch way here. And I'm gonna come down and do this one. Pull it all the way around. And stop with your needle down, rotate your fabric. And we're just gonna move this again. So, oops, let's see. Need to go the other way. No, that's where I got confused before. Okay, so yeah, my triangle was down there, so now it needs to be up here. So, gonna give myself a 1/4 of an inch right here. Line it up at the top. Again, make sure everything's where I want it. And then I'm gonna come down. All right, our last one. I think we're gonna be this way. So rotate that again. I'm gonna line myself up down here in my corner. And do my last little ribbon. Uh-oh, my bobbin thread's almost empty. Let's just finish out this corner right here. Okay, so that is gonna be our design. You guys can see that right there. And that gave us all of those outside lines right here. And again, we're not breaking any threads. We're going to start the cross hatching next, but we're not going to break any thread. We're going to start at this corner to do our cross hatching. So I'm going to change my bobbin real quick, and then we'll get started on that. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't realize my bobbin thread was so low. So I did have to break my thread to do that, but we'll pretend I didn't break my thread. So we stopped up in that corner with our needle down. Now what we're going to start doing is, let's pretend this is that, you get one that looks, yeah, so it's going to look like this. So let's pretend that is that corner up here. Did I see that? Okay. So we're right here. So what we're going to do is, you don't want the lines that are part of the ribbon or your outside shape. So the first line we're going to backtrack up a little bit is this first outside curve here. So we're just going to come up just enough that allows us to position the template to where we're lined up on our center again. And then we're going to use our spacing gauge to line 1/2 of an inch, because we want a 1/4 inch cross hatching. So we are going to make sure we're using our 1/2 inch side of our spacing gauge. From that line to the next line that we're going to stitch is going to be 1/2 an inch. And so I'll show you. So what I did is I backtracked up just a little bit up this outside curve line right here, that line right there, and flipped the template around. So I want this curve. This is the curve that I'm going to be following right now. So we're going to do all one side first. So I'm going to do all of these first. And if you don't have enough room to get yourself 1/2 an inch, then you need to come up a little bit further. So what I'm going to do is make sure first I'm in center, because you want it centered so that all of that curve comes out uniform. Otherwise, then your curve won't be in the right area as you go around and create them. So I want to be at 1/2 of an inch, which right there's about 1/2 an inch. And then I also want to make sure that I'm in center. So if those two things don't line up, then that means you need to either come up or back down that line over there to give yourself the room that you need. So I'm going to say it's about right there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come all the way over until we intersect with this line here. And then we're going to spin it around and go back the other way, but still doing the same curve. So let's see if I did this right. And again, we're using the 1/2 inch spacing because we want a 1/4 inch cross hatching in between. I'm going to come down. Right where it touches that line there. I'm going to spin it around. Now you can see I've got my first. Now I want to be able to do another 1/2 inch here. So I need to come up this line here a little bit. So I'm just going to do a little bit of back tracing. You just need to come up just a little bit. I do a little bit at a time. And then if I need more, I do more. That way you're not going back and down so much. So I feel like to get started, it's a little tricky. But once you get it, so I think I came up too much. So I'm going to just go back just a hair. Or actually, I need to come up a little bit more. Yeah. So I really want, again, my 2 things that I'm looking for is I want to be centered. That line, I want to be back in my center. And I want 1/2 of an inch. So if those things don't line up, so look, I'm a little bit off. So I'm going to go back just a little bit so that I can scooch my template up a little bit more. And you don't want to move it like this to make it match, because then that's what's going to get that line off. So you really need to, I think once you get started, it's not so bad. But the first couple lines, I feel like were a little, there we are. Take a little bit more time to get them kind of lined up correctly. So I'm almost about 1/2 inch right there. Lined up right there. Let's see that again. Kind of want to be at 1/2 inch all the way or down. So there we go. That's a little bit better. So I'm lined up center there and center here. Looks like I got a good 1/2 inch all the way down. So I'm going to go with that. And then we're just going to that first stitch line there. Stop with our needle down, and we're going to flip it around and do this again. We're going to come up this side a little bit. Just follow your stitch line. Then I kind of get my template laid out and just see, okay, do I need to finagle it a little bit more? How close am I? So that's right on my line there. My back needs to kick out just a little bit. And I need, there we go. I think I was just a little too close up the line. That's better. Let's do that. All the way to the other side stitch line. Stop. We're going to rotate. Now you can see our design starting to come out. And we're going to come up this side just a little bit. And let's see where I am first of all. My 1/2 inch marker going on here. So let me get myself in the middle first. That looks, sometimes I get it pretty good right off. I think if you have the back of the foot just barely touching the previous stitched line, that almost helps you line up first off. And then it kind of sets you up in the right area to begin with. So I'm lined up there, lined up here. I'm just going to run my 1/2 inch just down, making sure that all looks good. And if I like it, then we're going to go ahead and do my next one. This one was a little bit challenging for me. I like the look of cross hatching, but I always found it difficult to do. So this was a good challenge project for me too. I think it takes a lot more patience, and well, I don't have a ton of patience, so I guess that was good for me. It just takes a little bit more practice, I think. But that's good. That's how you learn and you learn to make new designs. And okay, so I lined up there. Let's spin that some a little bit. And you can see why all those lines are really important. They just kind of help you stay on track there. So, about right there. So you can see I have some space between my foot and the template down there. So even though right here, I am lined up exactly where I need to be, that's telling me I didn't travel up that line far enough. So I'm going to keep my template in place. I'm going to travel that line again until my foot hits the template there. Then I know I'm ready to go ahead and do my next line. So sometimes you miss that. I did that when I was practicing. I got it all lined up in the middle, and then I didn't really look at where my foot was at. And I wasn't even touching the template over there, and I started, and it created this really wonky line. So something to definitely double check. So I'm going to come up this one a little bit further right here. And let's get ourselves situated. I think this one I need to travel up a little bit. So we're about, let's see. I put this little string on there so I wouldn't lose it, and then it gets in my way all the time. So I'm going to say about 1/2 inch is more like right there. I'm lined up. So I just got a little, like a stitch or two I needed to take to touch my template there. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this last one. Okay. So this is the last one for that curved area. So what we're going to do is we're going to travel now all the way back down to where we started, because then we're going to flip and do the other way. So if you want, you can use a template. I just kind of lined it up to help guide me, so that way you can keep it straight when you're going all the way back down, or you can just eyeball it if you're good at doing more free motion. I'm just going to go all the way back down to that first stitch line. Now it's not the corner. We're not going all the way down to the corner. We're just going all the way down to that first line of this part. Let me show you. So when we come back, we're not coming all the way to this corner. We're coming to where this one kind of started. So it's more like right in here, because then that's where our cross hatching is going to start, right there. Okay. So now we're going to do it the other way. So I'm going to turn my templates. And this is where I get really confused, because, okay, so I need to start. I'm going to come back down. There, and I think we're going to come up that other side. So eventually, yeah. So I need to give myself an inch between, or 1/2 inch between that one and that one. So I'm going to have to come up this side a little bit. And let's see, line myself up. Again, I want that 1/2 inch. So we'll then go back to not quite. I think I came up too far. Go back down. Too far, not enough, not enough. Let's cut out a little bit further. There we go. That was going the wrong way. Okay. So I've got my guide lined up there, right here. Let's now make sure, see where I'm at with my 1/2 inch. That is about perfect. So I'm going to go ahead now and stitch the other direction and follow this and come all the way back down to right there. Right there. Stop, spin it around, and you can see our first one. Now I'm going to come up this other line a little bit. Just a hair. Let's see. That lets me line up. Where'd my spacing gauge go? And make sure my center is lined up again. Right in there, I think it's pretty good. And we're going to come back the other side. So once you get it down and you've done a few of these, it goes a lot faster. To flip it around. But you can see the design starting to come out now. It looks pretty cool. And let's come back up this a little bit. Let's go about right there. And you can kind of start eyeballing it too, how far you need to come up. So let's see, what about there? And then again, I'm going to do a 1/2 inch off my last one. It's a little close, so it's going to be about right. Oops. Make sure that's just a hair, about right there. So you can see again what I was talking about. My ruler foot now is not touching the template there, so I still need to travel up a little bit before I start sewing. Otherwise, I will mess up my design. Then I'm going to come back up. Stop on that line. Flip it around again. Now we're going to travel up that line right there. So let's travel up that one a little bit. 1, 2, 3, about right there. Let's see. Okay. So lined up right there. That's my last stitching. So there's my 1/2 inch. I think that looks pretty good. I'm off on my bottom a little bit. Not sure why. I'm quite a bit. So I'm going to go back just a little bit so that I can bring my bottom up. It wasn't quite in the center there. It's a little better. Down just a little bit more. There we go. I think I like that better. All right. And that's a nice thing too. If you stop with your needle down, it gives you time to kind of get everything lined up without potentially, getting out of place or ruining the design that you're doing. Okay, so I'm going to travel back up this way a little bit. And get myself back in position. So I need to be up about right there. It is about 1/2 inch. And I'm a little off on the top, so let me straighten my template out again. And that's about 1/2 inch right there. And I'm lining up there. So I'm going to call that good. I'm touching over on the other side. And got one more to go. There's a design so far. Let's do this last one and then we'll take a look at it and see what we think. A little bit. So let's get you into place. My 1/2 inch going on here. Well, that lined up pretty good. I like it when it lines up really nice. Let's see. Entire. Well, I say that now, but wait till I take it off. See if I actually like it. All right, let's do our last little one. First come to that line and we're stopping right there. And that is the design. So from here, this is going to be the first time we're going to break thread. So you could travel all the way back down here to the corner and then do your break your thread down there and everything's nice in that corner. You can do a little back stitch and do it up here, wherever you want to do it. I'm just going to do a little stitch there so we can look at it and see what we think about it. So get that out of the way. This is our first one. Let's see if I can get that to... I'm going to look the camera up just a little bit. There. There we go. So, yeah, it looks pretty good. These corners turned out really good. This is a little off over here. I don't know what I did there. I was probably looking out the window or something. But it's nice to see that. And got one more to go. There's a design so far. Let's do this last one and then we'll take a look at it and see what we think. Little bit. So let's get you into place. My 1/2 inch going on here. Oh, that lined up pretty good. I like it when it lines up really nice. Let's see. Entire. Well, I say that now, but wait till I take it off. See if I actually like it. All right, let's do our last little one. First come to that line and we're stopping right there. And that is the design. So from here, this is going to be the first time we're going to break thread. So you could travel all the way back down here to the corner and then do your break your thread down there and everything's nice in that corner. You can do a little back stitch and do it up here, wherever you want to do it. I'm just going to do a little stitch there so we can look at it and see what we think about it. So get that out of the way. This is our first one. Let's see if I can get that to... I'm going to look the camera up just a little bit. There. There we go. So, yeah, it looks pretty good. These corners turned out really good. This is a little off over here. I don't know what I did there. I was probably looking out the window or something. But it's nice to see the design that starts taking shape here. This is a great panel again to practice on, but you can see, like, if this is my log cabin block in the background, this takes up a good majority of it. This again was the 5-inch template. We also have a bigger one if you wanted to kind of a bigger design, you know, on your block. But it's a neat design. It's fun. I like the idea of the little ribbon effect. And then again, doing the cross hatching in the middle is kind of nice too. And you don't see that much where you had to kind of backtrack to get the design. I think it looks good. And it's nice that you're not breaking a thread. So then if you're really worried about what the back of your quilt looks like, this is a great design because it's just all one continuous design, really. You're just kind of moving the template around. So that is it. Let's do one more together and then I'll do the other two and we'll see what the finished design looks like. All right, so let's do one more together. So I'm going to again use my center line up here at the point of the triangle and line it up there in the corner, using my etched lines on the sides of the template here on the little crosshair lines. And then again, I'm right on my center dot there. And that is center. That's what we want. So let's get started. I'm just going to do a little quick back stitch there. And let's go. make an extra stitch right there in the corner. Oops. And I'm going to move it. That way I am not at such like an awkward angle. So I got out of line here. I'm just going to put myself back. Make sure everything is lined up again before I start. Okay. Now this angle is a little bit different too. I know you have to be a little bit careful when because you're basically pulling things toward you. You can kind of pull the template out of place if you're like pulling too hard or anything. So let's stop right back there. Then we're going to rotate this. So this is down in this corner, and we're going to do this other one. Again, I'm going to line it up. It's about right there. You can see right there I'm lined up right here and right here. Let's do the other side of our triangle. There. And then come all the way back out. Okay, and there is our outside design. Now we're going to do the echoing and get our spacing gauge for that. So again, like the last one, if the triangle was down here, the top of it, we're going to put the peak of it up here. And then we're going to go ahead and make sure we are 1/4 of an inch so that hopefully our needle stops right there on that previous corner. And then we get our rainbow effect. So turn my fabric around, and then let's see. So I need this down in this corner. So we're going to go like that. And 1/4 of an inch. All right. There. Right. I'm going to clip off this little tail over here that I created somehow. Oops. My thread got caught on itself. There we go. All right, so I'm going to move this one. Again, get our 1/4 of an inch. And then our last rotation for our outside shape. So this needs to go like this. And I love how handy the spacing gauges are. I think I have like 4 of them. Okay. Perfect. So there we are. That's going to be our outside shape. And with our little ribbon design. So now we're going to start our echoing. So I think we're going to come up this line. If I remember last time, we didn't come up it very far. We're just going to backtrack a little bit first. And let's see where we're at. So Now we want our 1/2 inch for our spacing gauge. It's almost exactly 1/2 inch. Almost. I think it just needs to go down just a hair. 'Cause my back was off just a little bit. Or maybe it needed to come up. That's when I always struggle at first. Oops. I'm gonna come up just a little bit more. There we go. So if I come up, that gives me a little bit more room. So I think it was just a little bit too tight. There, I want that, and that's lined up. I think that's better. Yeah. So it does take a little bit of lining up when you're getting ready to start. But not much. And again, once you start, you kind of like gauge based on where the stitch lines are at, how far you need to come up. I'm going to stop right there on the previous one, flip our fabric around, and now we're going to come back up this side just a little bit. Let's try that. So I'm almost dead center right there. So let's see how far, if that's about, okay, so it's still too close. So I think I need to come up just a little bit further. Let's try that with my 1/2 inch. That is a little bit better. Let's see, that right there I think was good. So hopefully you can see that. Again, I just want to keep pointing this out because it does get a little confusing. So I am backtracking up this line right here to do this curve right here. And so I want my 1/2 inch spacing right here. That'll give me my 1/4 inch echo. And I have this crosshair right on that little dot, this line right on that etched line, and then I'm matching up right up here. And that will make sure I get a consistent curve along here as well. Backtrack up this side a little bit. Oops, getting that little thing in the way. About right there, I think is good. Right on that. We're gonna flip around. Come up this line a little bit. Oops, I need to go back. I think it was a little too close. There we go. Lined up there. I still need to go back. I think came up just a little bit too far. That's pretty good. Pretty good right there. Make sure my foot is touching my template over there so I don't forget that part. And I think this is our last one. No, actually, I need to come up a little bit further. Just a little bit too close. I think it's pretty good, right? Oh, nope, because my center was off. Definitely want to check that. Let's try that. Perfect. So that side's done. So again, we're going to travel back down here all the way to the beginning. So we're going to come all the way back to this line right here. So not all the way to the corner, but about right there. Okay. Now we're going to flip the templates. We're going to go in the opposite direction. And so we are going to run that right there and see where we are. Yep, so we need to come out. So coming out, the stitch line gives you a bigger gap up here. Going back gives you a smaller one, I guess, if that helps. Kind of know which way you're going when you feel like it's a little too close. I feel like that's pretty good right there. I'm going to come down all the way to this other side. Stop right on that stitch line, flip it around, and we're going to do the same thing. Up this a little bit. Let's get ourselves positioned. So I'm a little too close, so I'm going to come up a little bit more. Let's see. Oops, right there. almost done. So get ourselves right there. Make sure my center's lined up. This is definitely one of those designs that kind of keeps you on your toes, but it is a lot of fun and it is good practice for using the templates and your crosshair lines and the lines on the template and understanding how all of those work together. Let's see here. I think this is going to be our last one. Now let's get an extra little stitch simple before I break my threads. All right, let's see this one. So there we go. So hopefully you can see that pretty good. Yeah. So I really like this ribbon design on the outside. I was just thinking in my mind, I was thinking of some of the inspiration we looked at earlier. And, if you wanted to cut this out or do something with Template. But if you're doing your log cabin block, you're probably not going to do that. But it would be fun to use, a contrasting thread from the colors in your log cabin block to really get the design to stand out if you wanted. But otherwise, there it is. Kind of a fun design. Again, it's a little bit more challenging, I think, at first, but once you get the hang of it and when you're flipping the template around and how to get it lined up, it goes really fast and it's pretty easy. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and complete the other two and then we'll look at the finished product. Okay, so I just realized I'm almost running out of time and I didn't want to skip the part where I showed you the design on an actual pieced log cabin block. So I think I'm going to stop here. This gives you the idea of what four of them look like. Here's the other ones, and I tried to lay the panels up together just so you can kind of see the design a little bit as it's taking shape on multiple panels. But there it is. So it is I think like I was talking in there, it's a really fun design. It definitely is one that you're moving a lot. You're moving the template a lot, but it is good practice on using the etched lines, using your crosshair square, and lining up things in a block. So I definitely still have room for improvement as well. I noticed a couple places when I'm doing my back stitching, I kind of wasn't following my line perfectly. So again, that's something else to just practice on too. It kind of gives you that a little bit of practice doing a little free motion when you're doing your backtracking and everything, although it's not like true free motion, but you're still kind of trying to follow your stitch lines and stuff without the use of the template in a certain area. But there is the design. So let's actually do it on a pieced block. So I went ahead and pieced this together. I forget what fabric this is, but it was a really pretty like a bunch of pastels, and this has like little gold flecks in it. I get so distracted by the fabric, and it's so pretty. Anyways, so I went ahead and pieced this one together, and then already put some little crosshair lines on here. And then I've got my batting, and I just grabbed some piece of backing for the backing of my project. So my seams are pretty flat. I spent a lot of time, pressing this and then using my clapper to make sure my seams are nice and flat on there, because you definitely want that as well when you're going to be doing some ruler work on your pieced block. So let's head over to the machine, and we're going to do, again, this same design, and I'm just going to show it to you on this actual piece block. There we go. So it looks a little bit of a smaller design because my block is bigger than 6 inches. It's actually an 8-inch block, I think. So this 6-inch or 5-inch design kind of is fitting with the middle right here. But, yeah, it didn't cause any issues using it on an actual piece block. A little bit of my distracted talking there. Um, and I think, what I was trying to point out in the video, and I accidentally, filmed this on a time lapse mode, and I didn't mean to do that. But one of the things I was talking about is just, making sure you keep your seams really flat. So that's a big part of it is when you're doing ruler work is just making sure you have nice flat seams. Use your clappers if you have a quilt clapper to get them nice and flat. And then if you just need to raise your ruler foot slightly, you can do that. Let me go back over here to the machine. So I was talking about this a little bit. And again, I accidentally filmed this in the wrong mode, so you probably don't get to hear it. But with my foot down, you can see what I do is just kind of practice sliding that around. And if you feel like you might be catching a couple seams or two, I know on my machine, I have a high shank machine, I can just raise my foot just a little bit. So you want to be sure though that when you do raise your foot, you want to find that nice spot. Sorry, let me put this back down here to where you don't want the template to accidentally be able to go underneath your foot either. So you just want it enough to where it's still able to glide along the edge of the template, but then it floats over your fabric really nicely. And then you'll have no issue using it. And then one of the other things I talked about is making sure you have good staple tape on your template in all corners so that it doesn't rock. But also, this staple tape can get wore out over time, so it can kind of flatten a little bit. So if you feel like you're not getting good enough grip, or if it's too flat, peel that off and put some fresh on, and that will help kind of give a little barrier there between the template and your project as well. And, that might help too if you feel like you're potentially going to get caught on your seams or anything. But otherwise, I didn't have any issues. Worked out really good. It was nice to practice the design a little bit first on those practice panels before you actually put it on your quilt project. So I do like that. And I think this one I could use a little bit more practice. It's a fun design though, and I love that it's just one design. Again, you're not breaking thread. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I apologize if I rattled on or if I missed anything. Please feel free to shoot us an email or leave us a comment, and hopefully we can answer that for you. And until next time, happy quilting.
All right, I think everyone can hear me now. Sorry about that. I didn't realize I was muted earlier. I wanted to go ahead and share with you a couple of amazing additions to this, and then I wanted to address some questions and comments that came in. Someone asked which template size Melissa was using, and because she was working on a 6-inch block, she actually did use the 5.5-inch flying bell curve template. So I wanted to address that. Then there was some comments about gloves, and I really think gloves are just a preference. I know Nan mentioned that she uses them when she's doing bigger projects, which makes sense because it's helping with the gripping and really holding down those templates. But yeah, I think that that's really helpful. And then I wanted to share with you this gorgeous quilt that Melissa recently finished using this design. And I always love being able to share the finish, what a overall quilt pattern will really look like. And I just think that this is stunning. The way that this came together, it really, I think, kind of accents the overall quilt and really is a great addition to her log cabin quilt that she finished with this design. So I wanted to share that with everyone. And then finally, if you're looking for more inspiration with your flying bell curve tools, we have amazing, amazing books that come with that. And I know Melissa mentioned that a little bit in the class, but I wanted to go ahead and kind of give you a little bit more of a perspective on this. This is Leonie West's Creative Quilting Inspirations Flying Bell Curve Blending Collection book. And she basically goes through, and within this book, she is giving you inspiration on how to create border designs and block designs and just so many different ideas for what you can do within. And I think this is actually over, oh gosh, this book is over, I don't know, 60 pages long. So just keep that in mind as you're kind of, wanting to get more inspired with what you can do with these templates. The other book that she's created with this template set is the London Fly Bell Curve book of 12 different designs. And when you purchase a London bell curve, flying bell curve set, you actually get free access to these 12 designs. So this is another really fun one to consider. And she walks you through how to create these really unique quilting designs using this template set. So I thought that that would be kind of helpful to know what's available to you and get a little bit more inspiration for your templates. I absolutely love the design that Donna came up with using that template set. Kind of has this feel. And then obviously with the echoing and the cross hatching. So again, we really appreciate you joining us today. We hope you consider taking advantage of the log cabin practice panel for C. And again, that is with the quilting design that Donna came up with for the log cabin class that will take you through using the flying bell curve. So just as a review of that, with this practice panel, you have the option to purchase just the practice panel if you'd like, or you can purchase the actual quilt kit that comes with the template and the practice panel. So two different options for you there, and that's available right there on our So Study website. And you can also consider purchasing it from any of our resellers near you. So, again, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope that you enjoy these classes. We'll obviously have more to come. And later today, we're going to be launching a brand new box by Sarah Diddy. It's called her Creative Collection Box, and she's doing a limited time box quarterly for everyone. So we hope you stick around for that or come back and join us. But we'll look forward to sharing with you more amazing inspiration and gorgeous, gorgeous quilt ideas from Sarah Diddy later today. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.